Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here with you today on this 7th day of April 2020. It's a marvelous morning here in Puerto Lopez, Ecuador, top of this mountain overlooking the ocean and city. It's from here that I'd like to ask anybody watching this video if they'd like to take a journey together. If they would actually like to take a journey together and listen and observe. Because this YouTube channel isn't concerned with any sort of philosophical ideas or intellectual musings. And it's become very apparent in the wake of this coronavirus that the human population needs to change now. Because we are walking lockstep into our own enslavement. Now, some people may find that statement a bit negative, a bit heavy. But it is a reality that we must face. We can't run away from it. We must face it. So, I started this YouTube channel a few years back now. I think it was 3. And I didn't know exactly why I was starting it, what was going to come from it. I had no idea or concept in mind on what I needed to do. All one knew was something needed to be said. One could see the divides in society being created, being given life. The fans were being flamed in creating this division between everybody. Now, we have always been a fractured and fragmented society, but when things are about to happen, when monumental movements are about to happen, the power structure always makes an extra effort to divide people. So when that monumental shift happens and chaos ensues, people are so caught up with fighting amongst themselves that they can never see what is actually going on. They can never see the power structure for what it is and how it manipulates the human unconscious mind, or the human mind, conscious, unconscious. The two words are essentially meaningless. But how it manipulates the human mind, programs the human mind, and we place ourselves into boxes. We divide ourselves from each other and the rest of the world. This is a very deep problem in our human conditioning. And if you can't see that, well, this may not be the video for you. So after one has been diving into the question of oneself, you begin to understand at a deeper level how the world is controlled, how you are manipulated. Because if you can read the book of yourself, then you can understand the rest of the world. Because you are the world, and the world is you. And that's not some philosophical statement, or some intellectual statement. It is a fact. It is a fact if you actually care to look deep within yourself. It is a fact if you actually care, to look around you and see that you are not separate from this world, but you are one with it. So, during this chaotic period that we're now entering into collectively, everyone is experiencing the same thing. Everyone is experiencing the same fear, the same anxiety. What about my job? What about my house? What about all these things? What about all my plans that I had? So if we can see that collective fear and anxiety and realize that it is a part of us, we may be able to have a deep insight. Because normally, without some situation or crisis like this, the vast majority of people believe that their fears and their anxieties are their own. Their sorrows, their depressions, their hates, their hurts, their pains are their own. My pain, my depression, my anxiety, my anger. And that is false. It's not yours. It's not mine. It's not your consciousness. It's not my consciousness. It is all of ours. We are one with it. So, having said all that, if you are interested in taking a journey together, not some intellectual musing or philosophical musing, but to actually take a journey, to actually question yourself, then please continue watching this video. If you're not serious, if you're not actually serious about inquiring into yourself, then just turn the video off now, because it'll be no use for you. So, the title of this video is called The Flowering of Beauty in the Face of Chaos. I think we could all agree that what is in front of us is chaos. This coronavirus, the reaction from all the people to it, the reaction from the government to it, the dismantling of the economic system. This is chaos. But in order to understand chaos and understand beauty, we must understand ourselves. We must take this journey together. Because if we don't undertake this together, and this is just some sort of philosophical, whatever, it's nice, it's here, some intellectual masturbation. To be serious, to be real with ourselves. Because if one can do that, deep insight can be gained. Deep clarity can be gained. I shouldn't use the word gained because there's actually nothing to add to you. A better way of putting it is that insight alone can dissolve so many problems. It can dissolve so much of what we call fear and anxiety. That insight alone. You don't need a book, one book, not one book. not one religion or ideology or written word or leader or guru or savior or political party, any of that absolute and utter nonsense we engage ourselves in. Because if you can read the book of yourself, you will understand the world, because the world is you and you are the world. That is a fact. So, let us continue this journey. If there is going to be clarity, the book of ourselves will be read and put down. And a whole new type of action in everyday life will emerge. But we must go into ourselves deeply. So in order to do that, we have to see that the only thing that exists is this present moment. There is no past and there is no future. The past and future are contained in this very moment. All of us are born into this world and are conditioned by tradition, are conditioned by our parents who have been conditioned by tradition, conditioned by our schools, conditioned by our churches, conditioned by our media, all of which exists in the past, but it's now. This background, which we walk out into the world and we view things with, we view the now with the background of the past and project that into the future. So the now is the past and the future, if we can see that. Religions, governments, spiritual groups, all have talked about peace. All have talked about love. But yet, when you look around the world, you don't see any of that coming from any of these organizations, religions, or spiritual groups. In fact, these organizations and groups can never attain peace or love because there is this constant conditioning of the past that exists for them in the present moment. The constant looking at the present moment with the filter screen of the past on. So, to go into ourselves very deeply, can we put aside all of that? Can we look at our past conditioning, our past fears, traumas, hurts, and realize that is from the past, and that it's manifesting in our life right now because we live in the past? Many of us think we have a life. There's me and my life, which is an illusion. The fact is, you have no life because you are life. The life that you think you have is a story generated by memory, which is thought. And memory exists in the past. It's not what is now. What is now is now. But then the mind comes in, pulls something out of it, remembers it, and now we proceed throughout life with that knowledge, with that memory, and view the world and everything in it. We view the world with our past hurts and our past traumas. We view the world with our flatteries. How people tell you that you're such a wonderful person, how amazing of a person you are. That's stored as memory, which is thought, and built in to ourselves. Becomes part of our story, which is just thought and memory. All of that obscures what is right in front of our face. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for the field of knowledge, because knowledge is the past. You can never understand what is right in front of you if you're looking at it with knowledge, with the filter of everything that you've learned. Because what you've learned means absolutely nothing. What is right in front of your face is actually what is real. We have the field of knowledge, which is essential for human beings to function. We need to know how to drive a car. We need to know how to do something specific, a specific task that is learned. This knowledge is a field in which is necessary. However, this field of knowledge slides in front of our eyes, and we go to sleep because we live in that field of knowledge and past experiences. And if we live there, if we live from there, we can never see the now. We can never be present. You can't know the now. You can't understand it. You can't write a book and say, this is the word, this is the hidden knowledge, this is the truth. Because truth is unknowable. The only truth is to realize the falsity in all truths. Because what we call truth is knowledge acquired from the past, and the past is dead. It is not right now. But we live in the past, and we project that past into the future. So if we do that, then the future is right now. And it is right now. Because people have been warning about this for decades, this current situation we're in. The totalitarian takeover, martial law, the complete demolition of the economic system, the bringing about a new world order, which will be based on total abject slavery. Not that isn't going on right now, because that is how we live now. So that will be the future, unless there's a radical change within ourselves. Not because we've grasping at some leader or some new religion that's going to save everything. The radical change has to come from within. So you can go out and protest and bang your cups and carry signs and wave silly flags around. But that's the past. So that is what's now. And you can actually see that. Can you see that? Or am I just rambling on up here about nothing? Some people can see this. So in this field of knowledge, which is the past, it contains our hurts, our sorrows, our anxieties, our depressions, our wants, our desires, our pleasures. All this is thought. Now, in this field, it's very divided, very fragmentary. Your pleasure will always cause fragmentation within yourself, because when you have that pleasure and it happens and you attain it, it quickly subsides. And there's a want for that pleasure, and there's a seeking for that pleasure. So that fragment will be in conflict with another fragment that wants something else. That fragment will be in conflict with another fragment of thought which wants and desires something else. Our job titles, our income brackets will always divide ourselves. We'll be in division with ourselves between our income bracket and somebody else's income bracket. Our job title, what we do during the week, and then who we are at home in the family. A very messy, a very divided sense of self. The likes, the dislikes, the hurts, the pleasures, all of that just divides us up. And all of that is thought. And all of that exists in the past. Projected into the future, which is the now. So, if we're serious about understanding ourselves, we can look wholly at ourselves without any choice. Because desire, pleasure, hurts, and pains will all arise within us. And when they do, can we sit there and be with that and actually look at it? And in the very process, or the very act of looking, a massive insight is gained, and you're finished with it, because the futility of it, of all of it, is realized. You say, my God, that's insanity. I'm so divided up amongst myself between all this different nonsense, all this different conditioning that one has been through. It's divided me. I don't live holistically. The actions I take in my daily life are divided. They're here, to there, to here, to there, over here, up there, down there. They're everywhere. We act according to certain ideals, certain philosophies, certain religions. Then what our parents say. Then what this person says. This constant division in ourselves, which breeds this constant conflict. And the inner world is the outer world. That conflict inside spills out into this physical world and is manifest. And if you look around, you can see that so clearly, especially now. Look at the way in which people have gone into protective mode and are isolating themselves. That is a great example of the manifestation of the way in which we all live, which is as these isolated fragments. People are locking themselves in their houses because the enormous sense of self, which is an illusion, by the way, if you're following, this enormous sense of self that comes out, I must protect myself against everyone else. Not realizing, not seeing that you are everybody else. This huge river of what you could call the content of our consciousness, which is, like I've said, it's all the pain, it's all the hurt, it's all the sorrow, it's all the anxiety. It's all of that. It's not yours, it's not mine. When you die, that river continues to flow. So upon realization of this, upon the insight into that, one can become free of it. One can say, no more. It makes no sense. So that person dissolves. Because it is the person, it is the I, it is the mego, it is the ego, it is the self that wants, that desires, that hurts. Oh, someone said something mean to me. It's registered. Now it's the memory. Now it's added to the sense of self as a hurt or a pain. And that's carried on into the present moment and into the future, which is now. So, the mind exists in this river, this flowing river of all these different things, which divide and fragment ourselves. And all the religions and all the spiritual teachers and all this silly nonsense that people subscribe to can never give any answers. Because those answers come in the form of knowledge, which is memory, which is the past, which is just that stream that we're all immersed into. You can see in this alternative media, this media that has done such a good job of exposing the power structure, but has lost the plot in so many ways. This is a great time for human beings to come together because we're all going through the same thing right now. Maybe we can see that it is this fear and anxiety that we all have right now because of the current world situation isn't ours. And we can begin to see that we are one. And then this alternative community is very fractured and divided as well, among different theories on how this power structure ultimately operates and who's behind it, and all this other fragmented analysis, which is pointless in the end. Because that very analysis, that fine-tuned microscopic analysis, creates more division, creates paralysis. Analysis is paralysis because you can't see the bigger picture.